What time is it? Your show. Yeah, what time is it? Your show. Yeah, what time is it? Your show. Yeah, he's back from the dead. Your show. Putting it on the map, yeah. Saskatoon. Right next to New York. New York. Yeah, what show, yeah. Your show. What time is it? Your show. Yeah, time to talk some shit, yeah. Your show.
You've tuned in, yeah?
Yeah, von Maggie. Bark, bark, wolf, wolf, who wants a treat, yeah? Keep listening.
Well, a very happy Thursday to you, and welcome into yet another edition of your show. I am your host, Gary. So thankful and grateful to have you here, hanging out weekdays, 4 to 5 p.m., Monday to Friday, live, no matter what. And always so proud to be able to say that because no one else is doing it. As far as we know, the only people doing it, originating out of Saskatoon at that time. So very thankful and grateful to have you along with us for this crazy ride as a bunch of us jabronis keep chasing dreams and trying to make the world a better place and always adding to that roster of amazing people. And it's so cool to see how this place has grown and become a hub for a lot of like really cool people and really cool things. And it's really nice. So thank you for that. We also have a camera to thank you even more as our diva just moved a little bit, but she's okay. We're going to get a nice little Maggie cam going here because she is the star, the belle of the ball, if you will. She likes to hide behind the, what are those things called? We got the Phenom on the ones and twos today. Phenom, say hi. There he is. Camera stand. Sounds about right, eh? Likes to hide behind the camera stand. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Maggie cam. See what I'm talking about? That camera stand right there? I'm sure there's a more appropriate professional name for it, but camera stand works here. Because we're live. This is what we do. Marge, you turned the wrong way. Hey, Marge, other way. Oh, I shouldn't have did that. Of course she's going to go like that. No, you're okay. You're cool, bro. Lay back down. Oh, don't get up. Oh, come on. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah. We got this. I don't care if it takes the entire show. We are going to show this puppy off. Oh, now you're going too far. Come on back. You know, every time we do this, I think about the old talk shows like Johnny Carson, and they'd have these live animals come on a live show, and it's like anything can happen, and it's so true. I think she's going to go for it. There she goes. That's a nice spot. Yeah, girl. There it is, and model shot. Pretty darn good. All right. You're getting paid tonight. You get to eat. Well done. Don't look over here, though. There you are. The Maggie Cam, as always, proudly brought to you by our incredible, fantastic, amazing friends over at Pet Planet on 8th Street. They are your pet's natural grocer. Mike and Rochelle, they run the place. They're two of the most incredible human beings you will ever meet and a perfect example of the type of people we want to support around here. Good people doing good things, being local, and just being awesome. And they got a puppy named Leroy. Leroy has a bed right beside the door, just like Marge does here. And Leroy greets you just like Marge does here. It's so cool that these businesses have greeting dogs. Every business should have a greeting dog. That's the lesson today. So when you walk in there, you get greeted by Leroy. And then your day just gets better. You know, no matter what you're looking for, they got everything in there, man. And I mean everything. One day I'm going to ask them, just like, give me a list of all the stuff that you have. And then maybe during these reads, I can just list a couple off of the things you wouldn't normally think of. Because you know they got the toys. They got walls full of toys. Big, small, in between, durable, not so durable, you name it. And Maggie always loves to shop for herself and pick out some fun little toys. And then, you know, she'll treat herself to some treats because they have treats. Oh boy, do they have treats. We're talking buckets, all right? They have giant buckets full of treats for your animals. And they're on special on Tuesdays, so you can check that out. And yeah, sometimes when you bring your puppy in, they might help themselves. Looking at you, Marge. I know you can't see me on camera right now, but looking at you, Margaret. There you go. As she waits till no one looks and then tries to steal a quick one. Usually we catch her, but going back to what we said to kick this whole thing off, Mike and or Rochelle, two of the nicest human beings you will ever meet. They're, oh, it's fine. She can have one. Of course she can. So always so grateful and thankful for them as the experience in there is fantastic. We go get the Go dog food. She's got the one for her coat. That's why her coat's so beautiful and shiny. And they have all the other different brands of the dry foods. They also have the raw foods in the fridges at the back if you're looking to change your animal's diet. Right by those fridges, they have all the beds and crates and all that stuff that you need. They got outfits. Yeah, they got a whole row, a whole aisle dedicated to outfits, jerseys and fun shirts and all that sort of thing. They got the collars and the leashes. They got the buckle ups. These are all the rage, as Margaret has hers right here. I wonder if I can get this down low. Look at that. Not really, it's a little dark. But this thing right here, that's her amazing Marvel Comics buckle up collar. And you put them on, it's just like you're putting on a seatbelt. And then you get the matching leash, and it's so much fun as you get to show off a little bit of style and flair for your animal. They also have the normal leashes and all the other stuff that you need, all the stuff to tie up your animal if you have to be in a space with lots of those extending ones that roll right out, everything. It's all there. That's the point of this story. They got the medicines. You need to get licenses. They got the licenses. And if they don't have something by chance, they'll order for you because they're amazing, amazing humans. And they're also open after hours and on weekends, thanks to Kirsten and Chris. So they're always there with that incredible, amazing service that we've come to know and love. All thanks to our fantastic friends over at Pet Planet on 8th Street. They are your pet's natural. I'm going to try to zoom in on this little sleepy time. I'm not going to end this until we see the slowly drift off. Go on, girl. Go into puppy dreamland. Okay. Your supper will be waiting. You did a great job today. Hey? Hey? I can't tell. Is her eyes closed? Oh, no. She's open. Yeah. Oh, she's trying. She's trying. She's trying. Come on, girl. Go night-night. This is riveting TV, hey? I love that. We're not going to finish the read until you close those eyes. There you go. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. You're good. Go night-night. Grocer. Perfect. Nailed it. All right. Great Maggie Cam today. So if you're new to the show, it's a very unique show. Dare I say, no one else doing stuff like we're doing around here. It's a live show, Monday to Friday, 4 to 5, no matter what. But each day sort of has a theme. And Thursdays around here are Matt Young Thursdays. Our main man from CTV stops by. We do some retro gaming talk, and we do some sports and all sorts of good stuff. He's on vacation right now. So he is not in the house, but we're going to play a little retro segment. A sports one that was really fun that we did not too long ago. But before we get to that, you see down below there, good sports. New episodes every Thursday. Wait a minute. Today is Thursday. That means a new episode is up. And I think to celebrate that, we are going to promote it here as Flats, your host, had the great Michael Linklater in the studio on the show. The full episode is live now. You can check it out. And we're going to play about 2/3 of that interview. We wanted to make sure we saved a little bit more for you there, but he had a great talk with Michael Linklater, and we're going to play it for you now, so please enjoy. From Good Sports, episode 9, released today. Take it away, Phenom.
Good spot!
All right, very excited now for this week's guest, and a tough guest to introduce because there's just so many different ways I could introduce him. So I'm just going to suffice it to say with this. He's a champion on and off the court, a member of the Saskatchewan Huskies national championship team in 2010, the Saskatchewan Rattlers championship team in 2019, and a very hardworking community advocate as well. Now that his basketball career is somewhat over, but still very, very busy and doing a lot of great things in the community, and we are so happy to have him here. It's Mike Linklater.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Mike, great to get you in here. I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate you giving us some of your time. When I was saying, like, I was trying to figure out how I wanted to approach this interview because there are so many different things we could talk about because you've had such a fascinating and exciting life and done so many different things, not just in basketball, but outside of the sport as well. And normally I go all the way back to the beginning, but I think in this case I want to start in the most recent because you just had an experience that not a lot of people do, which is that you had a day dedicated to you. This isn't just like, it's your birthday and people are having a party for you. This was an official government declaration from the province of Saskatchewan. You got the documents and everything to prove it. What was that like just when you first heard we're going to have Michael Linklater Day in Saskatchewan?
It was wild. When I got the news, I couldn't believe it at first. I was like, wow, like this is big. And then as we moved forward, like getting closer to the day, like it seemed like fine. Like I kind of almost like put it aside and was just doing my daily things. But then when the day actually came, it was very surreal.
You're a father, so I wonder what your kids thought about this. Like, are they like, come on, seriously? Does he need more attention? Like, what was the reaction from the kids?
Well, it's interesting because my daughter, Gigi, we walked into the game and we greeted some people. They said hi, and somebody asked my daughter that question, and they said, so what's it like for your dad to have his own day? What's it like for you? She's like, it's a lot of handshaking.
Got to work on that grip. Yeah, absolutely. For a guy coming from the Thunderchild First Nation and growing up in basketball and then getting to do all these things and traveling around the world, like, are you accustomed yet to being, a celebrity? You're known. Your face is known. Your name is known, not just here in Saskatoon, but elsewhere as well. What's that like? Coming from humble beginnings to have that kind of recognition and people know you.
Yeah, well, I definitely wouldn't use the word celebrity, nor would I ever see myself like that. The way I view myself is just an everyday person. Honestly, it's the way I look at myself. And, I had a conversation with a friend and I was explaining to them in terms of my perspective of myself. Like, I don't think I'm anything special or I've done anything special. And the reason for that is because everything I've done, anybody can do. And I think where attention may come is because I'm the only one doing certain things. Where we all get busy in our day-to-day lives and, family, all of these things. But what I'm doing, anybody can do. When it comes to supporting your community, when it comes to like achieving or, going after things that are really important to you. When I look at people who I think are special or things that not everybody can do is when we talk about like philanthropy. There's a handful of families in this community that are able to make significant contributions to infrastructure and to programming that really build our community. But outside of that handful of families, anybody can do what I've been doing in terms of community building. So I don't look at myself as anything special. I'm just as special as the next person. And I think it's important for me in terms of my upbringing to make sure that I always remain humble. And it was something that was taught to me at a very young age.
So basketball, what role has basketball played? Because obviously basketball has given you a bigger platform.
Of course.
What would you like if it wasn't for basketball? Like, how do you feel? I mean, it's one of those almost impossible to answer hypotheticals, but like you're talking about having a voice and the fact that everyone has a voice, right? And that it doesn't matter where you get that platform, but you have that voice. So, do you think you would have been this passionate about the things that you are without having been given the opportunity with basketball to have that platform to use that voice?
Yeah, I do recognize that, yes, basketball, was the vehicle that got me to where I am. But if I rewind to what I was just saying earlier, like it was something that I was passionate about. Yeah. And you have people who are passionate about a lot of different things. So in terms of finding your passion or working towards your goals, that's something that, contributes to your confidence when it comes to supporting other endeavors. So yes, having the platform of being an athlete and being successful, it was looking at where can I redirect this light and redirecting it onto things that are more important, because sport is a wonderful game. It's a wonderful tool. But at the end of the day, it's just a game. And when you look at life in the grand perspective of things, there's a lot of things that are way more important and that require a lot more attention. So if you have an opportunity where you have a platform to be able to share that with other things that, are arguably more important, I think that's really how, we can make the community a better place and really have a lasting impact.
So when you get a day dedicated to yourself, I mean, that obviously must be an opportunity for some reflection. What do you go back? What did you kind of? What were you reflecting on here in the last few weeks as this was happening?
I thought about how did I get here? You know, being in this moment and basically reverse engineering my time in terms of where I'm at today, and just going backwards. And if you take it all the way to the beginning in terms of how I got here, it started with my grandparents. My great aunt and her husband, Maria and late Walter Linklater, they raised me, you know, since I was, a newborn. And what they went through and them understanding the changes they need to make in their lives gave me the opportunity to have success in my life. So looking back at, the residential school survivors was something that was important to me in reflecting, and all of what they've gone through for us, my generation, to be where we're at today is something I looked at. And then thinking about my children, like my family and my kids, because what I guess most people may not realize, but when you, dedicate yourself to a life of community service and service in general, you're borrowing my time or my kids' time. So thinking about all of the time that I spent away from my kids is also something that it was a sacrifice that my children and I both had to make. And it's something that hopefully when they get older, like as adults, they can appreciate, but that's something that you never get back. So really taking a moment to appreciate the time that they've been so gracious to give me to the world.
Are there moments you look back on it? I use the phrase, it's not something I coined, but I've seen it before, as sliding doors moments. Are there forks in the road? Are there moments within your your youth, or when you're coming up, that you could have gone one direction but you went another, that have kind of helped put you in the position that you're in now?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was 13, and that was probably one of the first forks in the road where you kind of are making I believe I had the foresight to be able to see, well, if I go down this road, it's not going to be pretty, so I should stay on this path. And so, like, it's kind of a fine line when you're a teenager, that I recall. And even as I got older, there was a few instances where teetering on that line of going down the wrong path. But I was very, very aware at a young age to understand the impact that for my family personally that alcoholism has had. And so at a young age, that's where I made a decision to abstain from drugs and alcohol. So, and I've been drug and alcohol free my entire life. And for me, why that's so significant is because both of my biological grandparents died of alcoholism. So it was something that I needed to do, not only for myself, but for my kids and that next generation.
That's gotta be, I mean, especially when you make a resolution like that, when you're so and you're so young. Like, I'm sure there's temptations or situations that would challenge that to maintain that sort of how were you able? What was the self-discipline? And I guess that must have had something to do with your ability on the court, like when you're to make yourself a good basketball player too, right? Like to have that kind of discipline and commitment.
Yeah, I don't personally. It wasn't that difficult.
No,
just because I knew it's almost like, for me, maybe using an analogy, it's like you see a hot burner or you see a fire, and if you put your hand in there, it's gonna get burned. So I knew that if I went down that road, or if I even teetered with that idea, I knew that I would get burned. So it wasn't something that was difficult for me, because growing up through high school, kids, your peers, parties, all of that stuff, and even getting into the professional ranks, it wasn't something that I was ever tempted to do personally, because I knew the outcome, for those who came before me and what it did to my family.
No doubt. I am sure, like, having those very personal examples that would resonate pretty strongly. basketball, I mean, clearly, you have natural ability, but everyone has to work at their craft too. How it's impossible, I'm sure, not to separate, or maybe it is possible to separate basketball from the rest. But like, how much did the sport shape you as a person, especially as you become an adult? Like, how much did basketball sort of shape your character and your personality and just your ethos even?
Yeah. Growing up as a basketball player, I think the greatest thing that could have ever happened to me was getting cut from the first team I tried out from.
The old Michael Jordan story?
Yeah, very similar, yes. But this was like just an SMBA team,
Yeah.
like a community team, but there was only a certain amount of spots, and I picked up the game late. All my friends, were able to make it, but it gave me the opportunity to say, okay, I'm not good enough right now, so I need to work to where I am good enough. And so at that very first experience, I was able to learn from that and recognize that I needed to put in work to get to where I wanted to be. And as I started getting better and playing against higher caliber players, I started to recognize my own weaknesses or where players would attack me. And a lot of it as I got older was in the post because I've always been a smaller player. So I recognized that I needed to work on post defense. I needed to get strong. So I always looked at my weaknesses as a player and worked on those to make them my strengths. And so that was something where I really prided myself on, was to be as well-rounded as a basketball player as possible. Because being undersized and not overly athletic, I really had to make sure I was doing the little things correct.
Was there a particular coach at all, or anyone on the sidelines who really helped you find that space?
There was a number of coaches, but more so it was actually players, because I'm a visual learner.
Okay.
So watching high-level players play and having the experience to play with some teammates who are high-level players gave me the opportunity to learn firsthand, see how they moved their feet, see how they rotated. There was just so many different things that I would just pick up just from watching. And even in, watching NCAA growing up, a lot of the players would pick up full court. And of course, that was in the States. I was in high school. So, I remember being like one of the only kids at the time in high school picking up full court because I watched, NCAA. But getting the footwork was through my high school coaches. And there was a lot of people who've contributed in terms of coaches to help me in terms of advancing to becoming the player I was.
Your game, to me, has always had just a little bit of that extra little flair to it, little playground in there as well. Is that a product of, you mentioned, you were always been a little bit undersized. Did you have to add a few little tricks and things that maybe you might not see in a more traditional sense? Or is that just a natural evolution of your game? Was that a conscious decision? How did that style, how did that evolve?
Well, I learned how to play on an outdoor court.
Yeah.
So I learned how to play street ball, if you will, before I learned how to play organized ball. And something that I recognized helped me was the ability to just create. And that's where I think when you make reference in terms of a little bit of a flair. Also, too, growing up, in my day and age, the big thing was and one videos.
Yeah.
So street ball at that time was like really at its pinnacle, and you saw all of this like extra, like things that didn't need to be done but looked really cool at the time. So there was things where I would practice some of those moves, just messing around with friends. Sometimes I would incorporate that into games, but what it did is when I practiced things that would never be done in a game, it helped me to have those quick decisions in games, even though I would never use it in a game, but there was ways of that move that could be integrated. And so that's where you kind of seen a little bit of that flash, if you will.
Well, it was what I think made you such a good fit for the 3x3 game, obviously, because that game has more personality to it. It's got it in spades. I want to rewind just a bit though, because you had been to a couple different programs before you ended up back here at USask. How did you wind up? What was the path, and how did you wind up kind of returning home to play with the Huskies, which obviously ended up pretty darn well?
Yeah. So plan A was to play NCAA. Like I wanted to go Division I because I grew up watching it. So that was the goal. And then of course every kid that plays wants to make it to the NBA. So that was really the stepping stone, was get to NCAA and try get to the NBA. And what ended up happening was I went down to the States. Actually my very first, so it took me an extra year to graduate high school. So that grade 13 year, if you will, I ended up going to Brandon and doing a year of high school there.
Okay.
But at that time, I was practicing with the Bobcats.
Nice,
So
nice.
it was a pretty interesting, situation, but it gave me the ability to see that, I could play at a high level. And so I ended up going down to the States for my first year at a junior college. And so I was at Bismarck, which was called United Tribes Technical College. So they were recruiting me, I think, since I was in grade 10, because I used to go down there for men's tournaments.
Okay.
So the coach was able to see me play. And so the plan was go play there 2 years, JUCO, go NCAA, but didn't pan out. So I ended up coming back home, played Huskies my first go around in 2003. And that experience, me and Greg I did not get along well with Greg.
That'd be Greg Jocos, for those who don't know, yeah.
Yeah, Jocko. And just for me at that time, what didn't resonate with me was I think every kid thinks that they should be playing more than maybe they should.
Yeah.
And then, I was probably one of those kids, but he wanted me to, and I'll quote him, pay my dues, meaning he intentionally wanted me to sit. And so it just didn't sit well with me because I felt like I could be contributing at that time. And just, my style and the way I played, I was always a player that I would do whatever it took to win. So that means I'm not just a one-dimensional player in terms of I don't come into a game and see myself as a shooter. I don't see myself as coming in as, a defender. It's like, what does my team need from me right now in order for us to win? And so scouting the other team, okay, do they have, a solid guard that I need to lock up? Okay, that's my assignment for the day. Are we playing a team where our bigs are going to be challenged and I need to be more aggressive? So always looking at how can I contribute to us winning was my perspective. And so Greg, that first year, he just didn't, we didn't see eye to eye. And he'll tell you this, and this is not bashing him, this is just the truth, but he almost kicked me off the team 3 times.
Wow.
Because I was letting him know when I didn't like something, so I was a little bit of a hothead. But after that year, I ended up going to SAIT, and then after that, I was in Lakeland, and me and that coach, oh my goodness, that's a whole other story.
A whole show just on that.
Yeah, and then my last year was with the Huskies, and I made that decision because I wanted to finish my post-secondary career off in front of my family and friends, and yeah, very fortunate. They had a pretty strong team. And they were successful the year prior. It was almost identical, the same team, and added me into the mix and Trevor Neerdahl. And what I brought to the team, what I thought was really the gel, was really seeing where guys' strengths were and being able to get them into positions where they could be successful. And so we had, a huge team in terms of our size, and we had talent on the perimeter. And it was just bringing guys together to make sure we did what was needed in order for us to win.
Well, I mean, and yes, and if you look at the fact that there wasn't many other changes, and the difference being that you guys went all the way and won a national championship, I guess you're you get a lot of credit for that. Only logic would dictate that, right? What was that like though? Because I mean, that still is to date the only Canada West and national championship for that men's basketball program. There've been some close calls, even a bronze medal at nationals recently, but. That's such. I mean, it's one and done in the nationals. It's so hard to get there in the first place. What was that like to be able to cap off that phase of your basketball life with that title?
Well, winning it was massive. It was huge for us. But we were in a mindset. Well, I'll speak for myself. I was in a mindset of okay, what's next? Because didn't allow ourselves to get too high on those wins. So if you rewind back a little bit, we came to our our first playoff game, and we were hosting. And at half, this is the first playoff game, at half we were down 20.
Who was this against?
I believe it was Trinity Western.
Yeah.
It was one of those BC teams. It might have been even Fraser Valley. It was one of those teams, but we were down 20, and I remember going into the locker room at halftime and just looking at the guys and saying, like, we just need to put in, just give, regardless of if your shot falls or not, just at the end of this game, look me in my eye and tell me you gave everything you had. You left it on the court in terms of effort. We came out and turned the game around. I think we ended up winning by like 15 or something. So it just spoke to the character of our locker room and the guys and what they could do. But I got to give a lot of credit to our coaching staff, Greg.
Greg, I was going to say, Greg's still there at this point.
Yes,
Two people,
yeah.
for those who don't know.
So it was a different tune this time. So actually, before that 2009-10 season, I was asking Greg, like, yeah, can I come back and, looking to play? And he's like, yeah. So I actually had to try out for the team, which is really true story.
Not usually for guys in the last year of eligibility.
Yeah, usually he wanted to have a look at me. I don't know if he was upset or what. I'll have to have a chat with him about that and see what his mindset was behind that. But what ended up happening was, as we started getting into our season, we could see that we had the talent. And Sharon Glover, of course, coming from Sunnyside, California, he was a threat. He could put the ball in the hoop. So Greg knew that nationals were going to be in Ottawa. And so the likelihood of us running into Carleton was going to be, huge if, we made it all the way. So he had us go to their tournament. We went to the Carleton Ravens home tournament preseason, and we played them. And I don't ever blame losses on refs, ever. I always take responsibility. You change your game based on how they're calling it. And I say that as a preface because that game, 6 of us fouled out.
What?
Wow. I think all of our starters fouled out, or 4 of the starters fouled out and 2 bench players. So we all fouled out, but the game was so close.
Yeah.
And so we lost the game, that was that. But in our minds, in my mind specifically, I was like, these guys are beatable. We can beat them. And so fast forward, come all the way down, we play them in the semifinals. And that's the Leafers story where he got injured before the game. So it really put me personally into a mindset of like, we're winning this game. Like, we have to win this game. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And, we ended up, not once did I ever think in that game that we were ever going to lose. My mindset. So that was a big win. Going on, winning against UBC we weren't worried about UBC at all.
Now, did that preseason game where you're all foul, does that also at all give you some sort of a chip where you say, look, no one's going to give this to us. We're going to have to maybe do even a bit more to be at to get the same level, not on our game, but just we have no margin for error here. Did that fuel a little bit throughout the season and go, look, no one's going to do us any favors here?
No, I wouldn't say that it fueled us, but I'll tell you where we changed our mindset when it came to fouls. We were playing our first practice in playoffs. So we just finished our last home season or regular season game. Now it's our first practice for playoffs. And I remember I was guarding my teammate Preston. He went to the basket in practice, and I might have fouled him, or I might not, and he called a foul. And I was really upset. I was upset with him for calling that. And I looked over at Greg. First I got into some words with him. I was just like, you know what, like, there's, fouls, whatever. So I looked over at Greg and I said, from now on, don't call another foul. I looked at Greg as I checked the ball up and we played again. The possession immediately after, I go to the basket. Troy Gotsling's like 6'8", 230 pounds. He literally clotheslines me, and he was a co-captain. So he clotheslines me, like I don't even know if he was going for the ball, clotheslines me. I hit the ground, ball goes rolling, everybody stops. And I get up and I start backpedaling and I say the ref didn't see. And it was so blatant, which is why everybody stopped.
Yeah.
but that's what set the tone. And so from that point on, guys played through everything, and the practices, the physical in practices went up tenfold. And guys weren't being malicious, but we were just playing physical. And like, you learned to play, like if a guy grabbed you or hit you on the arm, you knew to go through it because coach wasn't going to be calling anything. And so it just set a mindset for us through playoffs, and not once through our playoff run did anybody complain about a foul.
So that's just, you're bringing that playoff intensity to the practice court, and you're like replicating that as best you can, right? Like that environment, so that you're prepared. Because
we've been in games like that, and every basketball player knows, like, your refs are human, they miss calls, but when you start directing your attention towards the refs because they missed a call, it takes your focus on what the goal is, and it's winning the game. So when you can take those distractions out by just playing through that, it's something that really changes the team dynamic.
So, I mean, it's funny because then, of course, almost a decade later, you reunite with Greg on the Rattlers. But between those championships, you end up playing 3x3 with some of these Husky teammates as well. How did that come about? Because I'll be honest, like, I mean, I was aware people played 3-on-3 basketball, but it wasn't until, I'm working at Global and you're playing on the world tour that I became aware that this was a thing. Now, it was just kind of starting to grow at that point, and you're one of the faces that kind of helped that sport really grow in major popularity. But how did you end up on the 3x3 court? Did you learn about it and get into it, or did someone come to you? How did that?
Yeah, so how we found it was, so we got on the tour the second year of its inception. So we heard about, I believe it was Jordan Baker and a group from Edmonton, and they went to Miami to play in a 3-on-3 tournament. So Leafers, he got a call from a friend, a basketball friend, an old high school teammate, and he said, hey, there's this tournament in Edmonton. If you win, you get a chance to, or you get a free trip to Puerto Rico. And so Leafers...
That sounds all right.
Yeah. So Leafers calls me, and he's like, he asked me, he goes, hey, so-and-so asked me to go to this tournament, but like, I want to win it. So like, let's put a team in. So I was like, all right, let's
I don't want to go with the guys that asked me. We're not going to win with those guys.
Yeah, because we just came off a championship.
Yeah.
We have the chemistry. We know what it takes to win. And so we got a couple of our championship guys. So there was Troy Gottslig, Trevor Nerdahl, Leafers, and myself. And so we went down, we played in this tournament, and then we found out that the rules were a little bit different. So it wasn't your typical, hoops for hope in the parking lot, or your old back in the day NBA hoop it up tournament. It was 3x3, so there was a 12-second shot clock. The ball was live. You used a different ball. The game was super fast, and it was first to 21 or 10 minutes. So there was more parameters around than just playing 3-on-3. And then we got told, like, it's called 3x3. So we're like, all right, well, let's win. So we ended up winning. And then a gentleman by the name of Ron Young, who's still with Canada Basketball, come to talk to us. He's like, congratulations, guys. You guys are going to Puerto Rico? We're like, yes. He goes, and there you're going to be competing again. And we were like, what? And so he told us. So he's like, yeah, you compete there. And he goes, and if you place in the top 2, you're going to go on to the World Tour Finals, which were in Istanbul. So we were like, wow, okay. So, all right. So we're not going on vacation. We thought we were winning a vacation.
We're going to go to the old all-inclusive here.
Exactly. So we get there, we finish in the top 2, and then we end up going to the World Tour Finals in Istanbul. And every year we just stayed on the tour, and we kept doing better and better, made some changes. And what's really interesting about the success of our team in terms of Team Saskatoon being on the World Tour is because of our success, every game or every tournament you play and win, you accumulate ranking points, not only for yourself, but for your federation. And so since we're Canadian, we accumulated enough ranking points for our federation, Canada Basketball, to get an invitation to the World Cup. And so that's how we were able to represent Team Canada. It's because we basically got them a spot in...
It's a good thank you. You deserve to get that opportunity. You did the hard work to get them there.
Yeah.
Well, it strikes me though, like, you talk about, when you're younger and you're thinking about NCAA and these sorts of things, that must have been almost like a revelation to go, oh, I'm done university, but there is this whole other opportunity, this whole other outlet for me to continue to play basketball at a high level. Like, and it feels like, again, we talk about your style of game. Like, it was almost like a match made in heaven. Like, how much were you pinching yourself, especially early on, to be like, wow, like, here I am. Suddenly, I'm playing 3x3 in all these different places. Like, that must have been quite the.
Yeah, so to play professional, like to play past post-secondary was always the goal.
Yeah.
And to have the opportunity at first was with the Edmonton Energy, and I think it was the IBL at that time. Was a good experience, but then to have 3x3 and to travel the world, but also be home and still like work on like your family and a career and doing other things outside of basketball was something that was just a perfect fit. And then when you talk about the game of 3x3, like it is so physical. And I had always prided myself on how physical I could play. So I loved it. Like it was great because in 3x3, you have to be a player that is well-rounded.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I had worked on my whole life, was to make sure that, you know, I didn't have many weaknesses.
And when you talk about physical, I mean, it's not just the physicality of the contact, it's the physical strain on your body, right? Because you're go, go, go. People are like, oh, it's 10 minutes, but it's 10 minutes of nonstop action, and you have one extra guy, right? So you're not getting much time to rest there at all. Like that is, so there's a lot, I know because, you know, I had come to a couple of your training sessions and things, I could see the work that you would put in for that. So to then eventually end up getting to have an event here, that must have been a very cool kind of almost a full circle kind of moment.
Well, you know, I had established a strong relationship with FIBA at that time, and for a lot of the places, I saw the common denominator, and it was beautiful backdrops. Like that was their thing. It's you had the hoop set up, and in the background you had, you know, an iconic location. And I was like, and we had, you know, quite a significant following, people who were interested in how well we were doing elsewhere. And so having conversations with FIBA, like at tournaments, they were always interested in coming to North America. And they weren't big fans of going to the States because in the big cities, they're like the 17th item on that weekend agenda. So I asked them if they would ever come to Canada, and they said, yeah, they would love to. And I said, well, what about Saskatoon? And so they said they would love to come. So I ended up pitching to Discover Saskatoon. At that time, they were Tourism Saskatoon.
Yep.
And then I believe it was Todd Brandt, who was the CEO of that time, and just shared them. Hey, we've been on the tour. This is 3x3. Would you be interested? And they had a conversation, and they said, yeah, that's something we could entertain. And I think it was the following week, Todd was on a flight, and he came with us to the World Tour Finals in Abu Dhabi. And before he left, he ended up signing a 3-year contract. And we had our first ever World Tour stop in Canada, and it was here in Saskatoon.
And you talk about beautiful, iconic backdrops. And you had the Besborough right there.
And that was the thinking. It was like, it would be perfect. I was thinking like right outside those front doors, but the intersection a little bit further back was...
It's good. You get the focal length,
space.
you know, you get that extra, it was fantastic. I know one of the years there was pretty bad wind you had to deal with, but that's 3x3 too, right? Because it's an outdoor game.
Yep.
The thing I really enjoy about it is that it really, really illustrates the true global nature of the sport. There are teams and nations that are represented in 3x3 that you maybe don't hear about in the as much in the traditional 5-on-5. You know, the first one that obviously I think of was Mongolia. Like you don't think of Mongolia really in any sort of sporting context, but they're a big player, and there's a lot of money that flows in this now too, right? Like it's become a pretty big ticket item, and now it's an Olympic sport. You got to commentate on it for the Olympics. I mean, come on, like that had to be pretty cool too. Even though I know you were in like an enclosed booth, like you weren't actually at the venues, but to be part of the growth of the sport and then to be able to see it in the Olympics. I know you were hoping at one point to maybe be competing in those, but to get to commentate on it must have been close to the next best thing too, right? What was that like? Experience and to learn how to commentate on basketball too. That would have been a new experience for you.
For sure. You know, while I was a player, I sat on the FIBA's 3x3 Players Commission. Then once I retired from the game, I was sitting on the FIBA 3x3 Commission. So we were advising the central board for FIBA in terms of the development or growth of the game. So been heavily involved with 3x3, from its second year of its inception. So it was interesting when it became an Olympic sport because we knew like through our path, they were working towards getting it into the Olympics. Like that was FIBA's goal, was to create a unified game of a version of 3x3 that everybody knew because you said 3-on-3, there's so many different ways you can play 3-on-3, and the rules. So created a unified rules that everybody follows when playing that style, but they wanted to see it in the Olympics. And so we were a part of a couple, they made a submission to Brazil, but they withdrew it because of all of the conflict that was going on there and controversy. And then they put it into the next game. So we were actively working to get our team in there, but we had some conversations with Canada Basketball, and we just decided that it wasn't going to be for us. So to actually get the call from CBC to say, hey, are you interested in commentating? And I was like, well, what needs to happen? So they kind of explained it to me, and they're like, yeah, come on down, we'll do an audition. So they flew me in, and it was like the first flight out, like 5 a.m. I got off the plane, went straight to the studio, and it was kind of a setup similar to this. There was a big screen there, and they just played some tape. They had some producers in a room right beside, and they're like, okay, tell us about this game live, like while we're watching. I mean, it was recorded. And so we went through it, and so they were in my ear, and they're helping me, coaching me through it. And so they were like, what's this number mean on the clock, or what just happened? So speaking to that, and then we stopped, and then the producer was like, yeah, no, we could definitely work with you. I was like, all right. So I ended up getting a contract to do the Olympics. Crazy thing is I never had any they didn't work with me.
You just dropped you in cold
in terms of like training or anything. And then I met I believe it was Peter Retgazer, who was providing some of the analytics for that first Olympics we did, which was Tokyo 2020 brackets 1.
That's right. Yeah, the postponed 2020 games. Yeah.
And so it was really cool. I mean, he was a professional, and working with professionals, it's something.
There you go. Episode 9 of Good Sports up now with Michael Linklater. Hell of an episode, and that talk continues. They get into some other really cool stuff there, so be sure to check it out as it drops every Thursday here on the network as we continue the Thursday edition of your show. A little bit of weather rolling in. If you're with us live right now, holy moly, the golfing nerds are getting set to go out golfing tonight, and that might be one of those nights where the rain comes in and scares everyone away, so you have the whole course to yourself, because the golfing nerds never quit, like the Goonies. They never give up, so I'm sure they'll be out there still and enjoying the lovely Willows. So shout out to all our friends over at the Willows. The Bugsy 69 crew, ladies and gentlemen, join it now. Head to the Bugsies, mark them all, or at Lawson Heights, get yourself a passport. Once you get yourself a passport, you got your list. And this will force you to try wings that you never thought you would try before, like the peanut butter and jelly wing, or maybe the cinnamon bun wing, which I'm very, very excited to try. And Wild West, we've tried the Thai peanut, incredible. There's so many, 69 to be exact. And a little tip for you, go on Tuesdays or Thursdays. Today's Thursday. And you can get, it's wing night over at Bugsy, so you can get a little bit cheaper for your wings, and you can continue to knock off all of those different flavors on your passport. And then once you have that done, you join the 69 wing crew. You get the shirt. That's the Ruckus cock right there. I did the 69 at Bugsy's. It's all yours. You become a part of the amazing crew. All just for eating delicious, incredible, fantastic wings. And they will blow your mind, I promise you. We had the big D and the creamy taco. Whoever thought a creamy taco wing would be good? It's one of the best wings I've ever had. And we say that about all these ones, these new ones that we try. So head on over and enjoy. They're also, you can order them. Skip the dishes and Uber. You just order the plain wing, and then in the memo, tell them which flavor you want off your passport, and boom, you're getting it stamped. So we deliver it right to you. I know that because my dad and I went and hung out. We were talking with our buddy Brad there, and he was explaining to us about how that works. Because my dad says, all right, son, Brad, how do I order these wings to my house? And he told us. So it is on Skip and on Uber. Tell them the flavor in the memo, order them plain, and you'll continue to stamp off those amazing wing flavors on your passport. Very, very exciting. That's a live read. If you feel like your business could benefit from something like this, your organization, your tournament, your charity, your event, whatever it is, we can help you. Help us, help you is what we always say. Just get in touch with us. It's so easy to do that. We made a little jingle about it. And this is how that goes. Just send an email to 123 contact@dufferinave.com. That is the email. This is the theme song. Look at that. Send an email. Get in touch. A lot of fun. We also got the website. Boom, boom. I can do the old Brooklyn spin like you're at the bowling alley. For one of these. Dufferinave.com. Very simple, very easy. Get out of here. I did it the wrong way that time. That's right. And the Twitch stream currently getting updated right now. Thanks to my main man, Phenom. You can check us out over there, twitch.tv/Dufferin Ave Media. We may or may not be going on right after the show here for a little bit, doing some testing stuff, so that'll be a lot of fun. That's where you find us with Lat. See you later. Fun with graphics. Love it. It wouldn't be a Thursday without our main man, Matt Young from CTV. We went back in the vault a little bit, and we're going to play probably about a good 6 or 7 minutes of this before we come back and head on out. But I want to make sure he keeps his presence on his day. So, ladies and gentlemen, gaming, local sports, and so much more with our friend Matt Young from CTV. Let the Thursday party commence.
Yes, let's
Matt
go.
Young from
You got her.
CTV in the house as we continue our lovely little feature on how to upkeep all of your old systems, controllers, games, even your Game Boy.
And just how to have fun with
That's it.
video games.
That's
Exactly. Right here in Saskatoon. That's really cool.
I wanted to show you. I lost the
This
screen
is
on the
neat.
top.
I was going to say, I noticed that. That's interesting. So
Might
that
be something
cover,
down the road.
That cover came off. Well, we can show you that. And also, I see this thing. Okay, so this one's starting to
Yellow.
oxidize a little bit, it's starting to yellow a bit.
We've
so
talked about that in
there
past
is a
shows.
way to fix that, and we are going to do a show on that eventually. I got to get the product,
Awesome.
but there is a way to fix that to make your Game Boy or your Super Nintendo gray again, as they say. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be
Very
fun.
pumped.
And oh yeah, Game Boy's great. Do you have a favorite Game Boy game?
You know, NES Golf.
NES.
They
There you
have the
go.
golf
There
on the
you,
Game
you
Boy.
got
It was-
it on the Game
it
Boy.
was
too?
actually in
Oh
here.
man.
I took it out because I also have a Game Boy Advance or something like
Oh yeah,
no,
yeah.
a Pocket.
Game Boy Pocket. Okay.
And I had this in the Game Boy Pocket forever.
Oh,
Link's
Zelda there.
Awakening.
That's a
Yep.
classic right
And I
there.
had golf in this one, and then I
Oh,
took the
that's
golf out.
awesome.
And now I'm playing the golf
Nice,
on the other
nice.
Game Boy.
I remember playing Tetris on that game
Oh, yeah.
forever when I was young, and my buddy, again, he was always good at video games. He always get one level ahead of me, and I'd
Every
sit
time.
there. It was like 3 a.m. I'm still going.
My brother was the same way. He
There
would
you
always
go.
challenge, and we'd link up the Tetris.
Oh yeah, I
with the
remember
two.
that.
Yeah.
The chords.
Yeah.
You could. Oh yeah.
So fun.
Wow.
But that's
wow.
not why we're here today, my friend.
Well, we're here to talk about video games, and we're here to talk about a few things. So last week it was the start of the NHL season, so we
Yes,
brought out
that
like
was
all our old NHL games, right?
It was like
Well,
a walk through history.
Exactly.
It was incredible.
Exactly. Well, we're going to travel back through time again, right here in
So excited.
Saskatoon, to back in the 90s, you know, when Saskatoon, it was a little bit different. SaskTel Center had just been built,
Yeah.
right? You know, it was, and at the time, Saskatoon is actually looking at getting an NHL team in the 80s, right?
Oh, the chase for the Blues.
And there you go. So back then, when you bought video games, you got really cool stuff, right? So I got some video games here, and we're gonna bring them out here. Let's come out here. So we got a little bit of NBA Jam. By the way, who doesn't love NBA Jam?
Even people
NBA
that don't
Jam
like
is
basketball
crazy good.
still love
Exactly,
playing. It
exactly.
transcends. Yeah.
Arcade hit. I remember when it came out. NBA Jam was awesome, and I remember playing. And it didn't matter where you were, you got addicted to it right away.
Yeah.
And
Foot
you were-
Locker.
You were.
Foot Locker had it.
They
Yeah.
had it
At Midtown, yeah, back in the
Wow.
day, they had it
Oh,
set up.
awesome. I
That and
totally
there was also the fighting basketball one they had in there for a while. I
Oh,
forget what it was called,
neat.
but it was very fun.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. Well, it was a fun game, and everybody enjoyed it. And you were begging your parent more quarters because back then a game only cost a quarter. Now
best.
it's like $2.
Yeah, it's dumb.
So,
It's outrageous.
so then I brought another hockey game. This is ESPN National Hockey Night. I never played it much. I did play it a little bit. I thought it was okay. I don't think it was quite as good as Stanley Cup.
There it is. Yes.
Who remembers Stanley Cup
Dude,
hockey?
The
for
only
Super
thing
Nintendo,
I
hey?
remember about that
There
game,
you
and I played
go.
it a lot, was hitting the X button at center ice.
At center ice, and it would go in every time.
Every time.
Right?
It was the cheat. It was like the corner and the wraparound in
yep,
the original
yep.
EA Sports
Yep,
NHL.
that's right. That's right. So I remember that game, and it was really hard to score. Other than that,
That's the problem, right? I know, because it was one of the first ones that had the camera that moved.
Exactly.
It flipped sides each time with like possessions. It was a weird concept.
Exactly. So now back in the, I mean, right now you would download a game, or if you buy a physical game, it'll come in the case. But back in our day, kids at our age, you got cool stuff. So like you would get things like posters.
Yes.
Right? And you would get these posters in these game cartridges, and they would be posters for different games. So
hang in
this
your-
one was
and
for
that was-
Joe Montana football.
That was one of the best football games.
And on the back you would have like a whole bunch of list of games that were coming out.
It was
And
like a mini commercial pack. for you, yeah.
Exactly. And so what you could do is you get these little things. You put these posters up in your room and stuff like that. Now you don't really get any of that. This is what I like about some of these older games, is bringing out some of these old posters. And I mean, look at that. I mean, you got all kinds of different stuff. This one's for Sega Game Gear, so
Yeah, man.
you got stuff like Sonic and Castle of Illusion and stuff like that.
Dude, they
and
had a mini putt and putter.
putt and putter right
Come on.
there. I mean, you got all kinds of cool stuff, and of course this was Game Gear was like old portable gaming,
Yeah.
like not like PSP now or whatever you got,
Yeah,
right?
it was like a Game Boy Color for Sega.
That's right. That's exactly what it was. Yeah, it was a Game Boy Color for Sega.
So cool.
And if you can find one that works now, they're a little hard to find. You got to replace the capacitors in them. But there you go. Those
Look at all
are
those
some of the poster that you would get. And then of course.
So there you go. We had to get a little bit of Matt Young from CTV on a Thursday. So as he continues his vacation, hopefully he's having a really good time out to BC, I guess, as it is that time yet again. Phenom, let's go ahead and wake up Frankie and make our way out of here. Beautiful. What a show. You know, that's the earlier days, like even from that pre-tape right there, and looking back and looking at our roster now, you know, there would be scrambles. Like, okay, well, we don't have guests really lined up for this day or that day. What are we going to do? And then you go on and dance, and it's not very good. But now that our roster is so, like growing, like we have so many shows on this network now, man, that's crazy. So just to use this time to promote those is always such a good thing. And we're always grateful for everyone and all the hard work they do around here. And new episode of Good Sports featuring Michael Linklater. Out now. You can check it out. Tomorrow, new episode of Not That Kind of Book Club. Les and Ree getting back into it. That's episode 7 for them, as I got another author on, and it's going to be a very good watch. So I look forward to those. And I believe the old Seahawks coming in tomorrow. We're going to put the finishing touches on the upcoming new show, Recovery with Cal, as he's done a lot of work on that bad boy, and I'm so excited to get it out to the world as we all sort of join in on his recovery after losing, probably 2/3 of his body. Not actually, but moving and the ability to use it. And it goes right from the start of his accident on his mountain bike all the way up to now as he continues to recover. So looking forward to that. Be very happy. Maybe we'll get the old Seahawk on the shoulder tomorrow. Yeah, Friday. We'll see how it all plays out. Either way, so grateful to have so many amazing, amazing people and shows. Okay, Bloomer, there's another one. Every Saturday at noon, check that one out. The Bell of the Ball, I call them. Those guys are just crushing it right now. So thank you to everyone for all the hard work they put in on those shows. And then getting ready for another rider game. I got to go. How about that, hey? LB, he makes me come on his rider show, the 13th Melon. Then I had to do a solo last week and Grandpa here, his grandpa. And I will be doing producer Brooklyn. So maybe we'll get her up in the middle chair and have some fun with that. All thanks to our Bugsies pals as they bring a game day feast. And we get to enjoy a couple more of those wings as we continue to cross them off our passport and do the 69 with our friends at Bugsy. 69 wing crew, man. Be a part of it. To the golfing nerds, if you guys are heading out golfing, good luck to you. Maybe a little wet. Remember, karma's very real. Do good things and they'll happen to you. I promise you. Have a great Thursday!